color on my back and my everywhere else. I had a nice day at the beach yesterday, and it turned into a nice sunburn. So yeah, we're gonna work with what we got, and it's a little sore on my butt, so hopefully we're not moving around too much in the car today, and it's not too hot in there either, because that'll be rough with the sunburn. Yes, I did need a new paint job. We were getting a little rough around the edges, if I'm being honest. Partially me, partially hard racing, partially the wall from me. But yeah, so the paint job looked good from far, but now it's good up close and good from far, and we'll see how long that lasts.
Shocks were good on the rear?
Shocks are good on the rear.
At the end of our last race night 2 weeks ago, we took off the shocks and we sent them down to London so they could get checked out to make sure that the shocks are working as they should. So in order to practice today, we needed to get our shocks back from London, and they were coming up today with one of the other racers. So we had the opportunity to come up to the racetrack early and get some practice laps with the shocks back on the car. So we took advantage of that. We were up here this morning, and when the shocks got here, we were able to run a couple of practice sessions before the racetrack opened up. So we don't get a lot of practice during the day. We only get 2 practice sessions a day, and at best we usually get one really good one and one where we may be trying something. So it was nice to get the added practice this morning to be able to put the shocks back on, run them in, make sure there was no problems first of all, make a few adjustments to see how well Kendra liked the changes, and take some times to see what the car was doing on the racetrack.
So last week, we had a pretty good time in practice, and then when we went to qualifying, my mom actually came down into the infield with me for the first time, and we qualified 8th, which is our best qualifying effort so far, by far actually, in the group qualifying, so we were really excited about that. And we started the first feature in 8th and ran pretty well in that feature, and then ended up falling back to 10th. Just near the end of the race. I count that as a win. Still a top 10, and we raced with great cars, so I'm happy to finish 10th in that field. And then in the next race, I pulled 9th in the tech shed, and then from 9th we got all the way up to 5th. Little mid-race spin out, and I went to the back, started back at the back, and I raced all the way back out to 9th. That was a really good race. I'd rather have a 9th place finish from the back than a 5th place from the front. It means a lot more, and I just learned so much more when I'm racing through the field and racing with other cars instead of just being at the front and staying there.
Calling a checker flag here, so we're coming out, pin coming in. It started raining, so they threw out the checker flag. We're going to go to the pits, wait out the rain, and then come back out for our first set of practices. Just opens up.
Bye, guys.
Is she out?
Nope.
Okay. It can go your way a little bit, Lane, once she's out.
Yeah, I just gave it.
You can open it there and give the big reveal.
What happened? So basically, just started raining a little bit hard out there, so they just brought us in off the track. There's no point in practicing when it's raining like that out there, so hopefully we'll get our 2 practices. We can only hope they don't like running behind schedule, but hopefully they'll give, especially the late models, because we haven't had our practice yet, a second round, just because everybody needs the time to check stuff, put on new tires, cut tires in. So we'll see. Hopefully we get in a good 7 to 10 laps this practice, just to see how the car is, and then I'll come in, and then the next practice I'll just do about 3 or 4 to cut in our new tires. So let's see how this goes. Hopefully it stops raining. I think it's still raining a little bit, but.
Doesn't look like many guys are going out, so you might be one of the few cars out there. You can get a decent practice and come in, we'll change tires.
Hopefully Nick goes out. Can you tell Paul?
I told you, he doesn't come near me. When we do practice, he's never near me.
Can you text him?
No, not on my phone. If Nick goes out there, I'll tell you, and you just fall down behind him.
What if he's in front of me?
Well, then catch him.
Seth.
Watch the 69, he's staying low underneath him. And clear, swirl around, come on. I want to see you get good laps here. Get it deeper, harder brake, turn and jam it all the way off, all the way forward. Big jam, come on. Get on that 10, you can get to 28. Half an inch. What was the measurement to the bump?
So we got an inch gap here.
Yeah.
We're traveling down an inch and a half.
An inch and a half. Okay. You were following the 10 awesome there, Kenny.
Thanks. It felt really fast, but like, you know that it's not always as fast as it feels.
But it looks it with the 10, that's all I'm thinking.
Yeah, true.
And no one was catching you. What are you saying there when you get in?
So when I go in, especially in one, it's usually only one, I think, I hit the brakes and then the car just wants to go straight.
Straight or front end jerk to the right?
Front end, like straight.
Okay.
But not like tight. I don't know how to explain it. It's like
if you
tight,
put a little more rear brake in, maybe? Do you think it might be the front brakes are starting to lock? Because even when you were in the practice, I think earlier, it looked like almost that left front was starting to lock up.
Yeah.
So maybe put 2 clicks to the rear and try it in the next practice.
Okay.
And from turn entry then, through apex and exit, how was it?
So good. A little hot. The sunburn is okay, except for the backs of my knees and my ankles that are rubbing against here. Not that good, but I'll live with it, I guess. It'll be worth it for the tan I get.
The following program is brought to you by Rogers Anyplace TV. Enjoy exclusive content for free. Visit RogersAnyplaceTV.com.
Avenues such as studio tours or art shows, it's a way for the public to access us. I get my inspiration from the wood itself, because when I started this 30 some odd years ago, there was no reference material for me to get at. I have to read the wood. I have to analyze how it grew. There's a great art scene in Simcoe County. It just needs to be explored. And it's nice to connect with people.
Talk segment. I have Elaine Zardo, a former competitor in the late model division here at Sunset Speedway, with me to talk about what a sway bar is and what it does.
So theoretically, what the sway bar does is when you go into the corner, it pretty much holds the weight of the chassis and it makes the car stay still without rolling over. And if you come over here, you can see the sway bar. It actually goes underneath what's called the A-frame. So it just holds up the chassis and it just makes it so the whole car doesn't roll over, want to turn over. And it just creates a center of gravity for the car. Now, what a lot of drivers will do is when they set the sway bar, you can actually adjust it so you have more preload, it's called, or where it's at neutral, where it doesn't affect it at all. And what more preload would do is it just creates more force pushing down on this and more force pushing up on the left side. Now, there's a lot of different styles of sway bars too. In these late models, we run a little bit more of advanced, and it's actually pretty cool where dirt cars actually don't run that much. Dirt cars don't run a sway bar at all. And a sway bar is kind of tricky for a driver to figure out what's going on, because normally when the sway bar is being set, Kendra will normally be sitting in the race car, so she doesn't always get a good chance to see what's going on, whereas everything else that's going on with the car, she's normally right in there.
Basically, a lot of different drivers have a lot of different setups, which leads to different setups on the sway bar. You can't take part of a setup and not another part. So basically, if you set your car up this way, you'll have to match your sway bar to that. So it's kind of difficult to share ideas with people if you don't set up the car the same way, especially with something as sensitive as the sway bar.
Race cars are very weird because there's 1,000 different ways to set up a race car, and it doesn't mean that none of them are necessarily wrong. It's just, it's like having a puzzle, and you can put different pieces of the puzzle any place you want, but then you got to select a few other places in specific parts. So it's almost like the final factor, because every time you swap a set of tires, if the tires are a little bit bigger, every time you turn a bolt on the car, you know, if you move the seat, if the driver loses weight, anything that goes on, you have to recheck the sway bar pretty much every time you make an adjustment to the car.
So right now we're just looking at the lineup for our qualifying. So I'll be the first car to pull out in the second group. We're doing groups of 4 today, so it should be pretty good. We'll see how it goes. What you saying, Dad?
You're gonna go top of the board in your group. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm gonna go top of the board in everybody that's gone out.
Top 10?
I'm on top 10.
Top 10 tonight? That'd be good. Top 10 all night long. That's the theme. Top 10.
I want to go top 8 all night long.
I thought last week's racing was great. Superstocks, you guys did a fantastic job. Late models, last time you were here, not so good. I mean, you guys do have 35 laps. Let's at least make it to the green flag before we go. We have legends in tonight, so it might be a little longer. It'll give some of you guys a bit of a break to get your stuff together. Stay hydrated. Listen to the guy. Again, we're going to try and call you guys so you're not sitting up there dying on the back chute. But please, when you hear him call you, get moving.
Roll it. Start getting after it. Coming to white this time by. Start getting after it. Start rolling, pick it up. Come on. Everyone's out, you are giving her now off of 3 or off of 2 here, start rolling. Just don't catch Brittany too fast, she hasn't started. Okay, come in the green here. And go, come on, all the way, dig. Big run, come on. Big run off, let's go, all the way to the floor, forward, jam, dig. Big run into 3. Set it up, pick the bottom, use the tires, work them up. They're going to get some heat in them after 2 laps, and you're going to fly it. Let's go. Big jam off, apex off. I want to see you dig it. Floorboard and hold it deep into the 3, dive it in and hold the bottom. Roll it, throttle, floor it. Dig it up. Come on, you're in. loose off at all?
It was a little bit tight loose. But like, I need you to loosen it up. Like there's room.
Okay, once they're done in tech lane, we'll roll through there and double check the bar, probably take a turn out of the bar.
All right.
No, nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Just looking to make an adjustment to make the car handle a little bit better. Kendra says the car's a little tight, which means it doesn't want to turn. When we get right into the middle of the corner, the car wants to keep driving up the racetrack. So going to make an adjustment to help it turn a little bit right through the middle of the racetrack, which will allow her to get off the corner a little better. So it wasn't terrible, but enough that we want to make an adjustment and take a swing at it for the future. Like we want to shorten it. We want to shorten that one full turn. One full revolution. Yeah, we made an adjustment to the sway bar to try and take some preload out of the sway bar and run a little more neutral than we had been. Hopefully that frees up the car right through the middle of the corner and allows it to turn a little bit better so it's not tight, which means the car won't turn. So we'll give that a shot and see what happens in the first feature. Going green this time, be ready. Green, 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 green. Inside, inside. Inside, let's roll. One lane only. Nice, nice. Big ball. Just inside. Just inside, inside. Hold it tight, inside. Great job out there. Inside. Inside.
The car is tight loose, so going into the corner, through the corner, it's super, super tight, so it doesn't want to turn at all. And then coming out of the corner, it's really, really loose, so I can't get on the dash. So I can't go in fast because it's too tight, it doesn't want to turn, and then I can't come out fast because it wants to turn too much and spin out.
Inside, 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 clear. 25 foot there. Clear, you had to go a little quicker. You waited a bit, and the 25 goes in.
It affected it a lot and really badly. I mean, it affects how you drive going into the corner, through the corner, off the corner, and even on the straightaway, it carries. If you're loose and you have to like counter steer it, it can affect how you're even driving on the straightaway because you can't get to the gas as hard as you want to, even on the straightaway when you're completely straight. But
take some air out of the left rear. We'll try and increase the stagger. I don't know what else to do here. Air out of the left rear. Like 5 pounds out of the left rear.
5 pounds out of the left rear. And it's hard for everybody. I mean, like, it's hard for me because I don't want to drive this car like this. I can't. It's hard. I'm hitting off other people when I don't mean to be, and I just can't control it. But it's hard for my team too because they don't know what to do and they don't want to go too far the other way. So.
Right up, tight, right up. All clear, all clear. Nice work, the whole track like that. Pitch down, right up. Okay, reckon, whoa. Nice stop. Nice stop.
It's frustrating for everybody, but that's racing, I guess, so.
If you love fantasy football, make Game Time Decisions with Gabe Morency your source for the most thorough gridiron breakdown on television.
We have the best guests.
You would probably bet on that.
The sharpest cappers.
I don't care what the coach's record is overall.
And the finest minds in football. His name is Iron Mike Ditka.
Game Time Decisions is live weekdays only on the Fantasy Sports Network, the first and only channel for expert fantasy advice and analysis 24/7. Get the Fantasy Sports Network as part of the Rogers Super Sports Pack. Order through your remote on channel 450.
The regulars, the guys who keep this place in business.
Last week, they had something to celebrate. Jason had just finished university. So they toasted his profs, his TAs, his old roommates. Well, they toasted just about everyone. But I worry about and take care of my guys. So even when I know they're not driving, sometimes that means bringing them a little surprise. And then they had a drink to me.
Brought to you by Smart Serve Ontario and Arrive Alive, Drive Sober.
What kind of show do you want to see on Rogers TV? What interests you? Log on to rogerstv.com, fill out a show proposal, and tell us about your segment idea. We want to know what you want to see. Rogers TV, only on Rogers.
When you beat like 3rd and 4th in points, all the way in the 39. One was junked and the other one's just running junk. What are you gonna do?
One was junk and I was junk, so I still beat him in fair game.
True. You just were less junk than they were.
Less junk.
When you describe the car as being less junk, bad start. We got feature number 2 coming up. We're gonna roll up. Twice as good as the starting position, or half as many spots. How do you describe that? Start 14th and 7th? That's ambitious.
Yeah, that's ambitious. But I'm putting in some left side, so we should roll good.
Spotters having some of that health food?
Health food? This is not health food.
This is good.
The pretzels aren't. He's so cute.
It was so cute. He added you on Instagram.
Oh, really?
So he's under Cost and Pernick. And
okay.
He says, "What's her last name?" I says, "Adams." Car looks cool.
Thanks. Do you want to go up there and watch them work on it? You can go up. Just be like, get out of my way. I want to see.
And I said, "Oh, well, she could be Kendra Pernick." He goes, "Yeah." When Chris, my husband, looks at me, it was so funny.
That is so cute. On the ground.
Okay.
That's effed up.
It's not what it was before. 80. How much are we off, Wayne? 1/4 inch. All right, so we just came from the tech shed. We went over the scales, we checked the sway bar again. The changes we made prior to the first feature clearly didn't work. The car was a real handful for the driver. The car was really tight. Again, it wouldn't turn through the corners, so it kept wanting to go straight through the corners instead of turning and rotating like it should in order to drive the racetrack as fast as possible. So we've made a bunch of changes to the car. Now that Kendra's more comfortable driving, so we made a bunch of changes to camber, we made changes to the packers in the right front, we made changes to the packers in the left front, and we also made another sway bar adjustment. So we're learning an awful lot with this car. It's all brand new to us. All of those changes are foreign to what I've run in the past other than a camber change. So we'll have to see what happens. I mean, we got 35 laps to give it a shot, and if it doesn't work, well, the driver will come in and we'll make some more changes and then go back at it.
It was a green flag run the whole race, so 35 green laps. We started near the back and we finished last. The car was still really, really tight all the way around. It was really causing a lot of problems for me the whole race. I couldn't get into the corner how I wanted, I couldn't brake how I wanted, I couldn't get through the corner, and I couldn't get off because I was loose coming off. It was just a pretty bad night, to be honest, and the end of the race, about 5 or 6 laps to go, I was in last and I kind of just gave up. I wasn't trying to stay with the pack. I was totally exhausted. I was frustrated with the car, and it just wasn't fun for me to even try to race with those guys anymore. It's really a mental game, and it gets in your head. Like, I can't do anything inside the car to make that better or worse or anything. So I'm kind of in a place where I can't do anything about what's going on, and I kind of just have to let it go until I race again next.
Results-wise, not our best night. Frustrated from the results perspective because we ran towards the back of the pack, but very happy that we made a huge swing from the first feature to the second feature. And although Kendra says the car's still very tight and almost impossible to drive, clearly the results were that the car was far better than it was in the first feature. We still have a long way to go. Again, the beauty of this division is we ran 35 laps green. Kendra started near the back and was still 20 car lengths ahead of the leaders when the 35 laps was over. So that's just a testament of how close this entire pack is. So we certainly got some work to do, but I'm happy that Kendra was more than happy to throw a huge swing at it, trying to free the car up and get better than we were. We made a huge shock change at the beginning of the night, and it was decent in qualifying and just got tighter and tighter and tighter. So clearly with that shock change, we have to make some changes to compensate for the way the other shock was running. You know, we could throw the other shock on, but I think it'd be putting a Band-Aid on a cut. And what we've done now with the new shock is hopefully heal the cut, and now we're gonna have to throw a big swing at it to bring the car back to where it needs to be in order for it to handle through the corners a little better than it is. So, the good thing is the car's in one big piece. I mean, there's a couple of tire rubs, but that's to be expected in short track racing. There was some really good clean racing out there. We ran 35 laps flag to flag. So we'll go back to the shop and we'll put it on the scales and we'll do a little bit of work and try and free the car up for next week and move forward from there.
So I need to say, I don't know why Ernie got India.
I got what?
I don't know why Ernie got India.
Oh, me neither.
But what an amazing save.
Thanks.
2 and 4 all the way down the front stretch. You were sideways. And you said,
yeah, that was kind of scary.
That was an awesome piece of driving.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks so much.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
All life is born from chaos.
Captain, incoming!
We are creating a new way to fly.
Go!
Better hurry.
I'm getting very close to.
You helped start a war. Don't you want to help me end it?
Everybody knows not to drink and drive, but some people still think it's okay to take drugs and drive. Police have the authority, the ability, and the